So, Royal High has been teasing that they are potentially reopening their Crown Royalty Program applications in the new year, and they also addressed whether or not they would be removing Leah Ashe's badge out of Royal High. And we obviously have a lot to discuss, so we're going to talk about it because I know a lot of you guys are Royal High content creators or you enjoy the Royal High community, and I certainly think that if you want to be part of the Crown Royalty Program, that you should definitely have the opportunity to apply. Now, with that in mind, we have a lot to go over, and something that I do obviously have to start out with is that the Crown Royalty Program on Royal High doesn't necessarily have the best track record. Now, this isn't me being hateful, this is just a quick background context, but we're not going to get too much into it because, again, it's the past, we move on, we get over it. Now, basically, if you guys don't know, as of a year ago, a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, I guess now, it's been a chunk of time, but there's a whole drama situation with the Royal High developer team, community management team, and the player base, where basically a person who is in the Crown Royalty Program by the name of Call Me Haley was basically sent a message by someone on the Royal High team where they told her, hey, we're kicking you out of the Crown Royalty Program, and basically saying that there wasn't, respectful communication and all this sort of stuff. And Call Me Haley made a video series where she talked about it, and basically she said that from her perspective, it felt like she was being punished for giving her honest opinions about the game. And from the gist of it and what I could understand, it basically just kind of seemed like they were contacting her because she had negative feedback about the game, and instead of bringing it directly to them, she posted about it publicly. They didn't like that, and so they took away her badge. And she made videos about this. The community got very upset, and it turned to this whole big thing where, for lack of better terms, Royal High was kind of cancelled. And it led to this whole domino effect where there was a lot of backlash, which I think some of it was warranted and some of it wasn't unwarranted. There was a lot of hate that was just not necessary. It became a very toxic situation for a lot of people. And after that, it seems as though Royal High spent a lot of time kind of redoing their whole communication system with the player base and the influencers. Now, I do have to give a disclosure here that I do not have any direct contact, or I haven't asked anybody for their current experience in the Crown Royalty Program, because I just think that's kind of an overstep. However, what I have seen publicly, at least from the community manager specifically on Twitter, is that they definitely have a new community manager, and this one, absolutely love it. I've glazed them before and I'll glaze them again. I definitely think they're a great community manager. They're good at clocking it when people are being disrespectful, but also, obviously keeping open and transparent communication, which I think has really helped kind of rebuild Royal High's perception by the public. Now, with that all in mind, Royal High put out a tweet a little bit ago saying that they were going to potentially be reopening their Crown Royalty Program applications after the chest event, which to me would signal in 2026 and maybe earlier. I'm not quite sure. So if you guys want the most up-to-date updates, which obviously I will make an announcement once it's open, but you can go ahead and follow their Twitter, which is Royal High Valkyries. Well, I'll link it below. But regardless, currently members in the Crown Royalty Program have access to some sort of, exclusive features. To my understanding from watching the Call Me Haley video, they had access to an exclusive group chat where they could talk with the developers or people who were part of the team and get sneak peeks and information. And then they also had direct line of communication with people if there was an issue. And on top of that, they of course have their badges in Royal High, which they can give away for players to collect. And some badges are seen as being very rare because they haven't been given out as much, and some are seen as more common. And that's basically like the whole gist of it. And getting a badge is like one of the biggest goals for a lot of players in Royal High. To my understanding, and from when I was a kid, that's what I can remember, is being like, oh my god, what if I had a badge? Because everybody obviously wants to be recognized by a game that they like. Now with that in mind, with Royal High coming out, they're going to do this, there was some, I would say, apprehensiveness from the committee about whether or not commentary YouTubers or YouTubers who have opinion-based videos or will sometimes do reactions to updates and stuff like that would be eligible for the program. And one of these creators, which I was sent the screenshot by one of you guys, so thank you, TTRH, basically made a whole video talking about whether or not they would be applying for the Crown Royalty Program and how they were apprehensive about applying because they weren't sure if their opinion-based videos would make it so they were eligible because of Royal High's, this is just me saying this, because of Royal High's kind of track record with not really liking commentary-based content based on the previous actions of previous people who were associated with the community management team. Now, Royal High actually went ahead and responded to this video and wrote, "Hi, we actually watch your content a lot, in a lot of Royal High content across X, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram every day. For content creators, we value consistency and impact. We're working on improving the program and creating more ways to support and reward creators who are actively making content. Opinion-based content absolutely has a place in the community. We definitely think you should apply." So with that in mind, it's definitely refreshing to see that Royal High is, obviously open to accepting commentary YouTubers into their space. I obviously understand that there is kind of a balance between making really negative content versus positive content. And obviously, if you want someone to be in your community, you don't just want them to be constantly negative, which I understand. I think that's valid. And we know from experience, actually from my own experiences, Roblox itself will not allow people into the star or content creator program, whatever you want to call it, if they make commentary content. And that is because Roblox itself does not really like commentary YouTubers, which I can get. The commentary community can be pretty toxic. I definitely think, and something that I really stand by, is that there's always room for people in the commentary community. I think the more perspectives, the better, but that's just my opinion. Obviously, Roblox doesn't necessarily share that sentiment, which is fine. But I definitely do like it. The Royale High is going to be more considerate of commentary content creators and potentially allowing some into their space because, again, I think there's a good balance between positive commentary and negative commentary. Obviously, I understand not letting people in who are constantly negative, but I definitely do think it'd be good to have not just a bunch of, glazers who are constantly like, oh my god, this is amazing, yay, 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 because you need to have some sort of discourse in order for people to learn. Like, that's important for people to be able to have constructive criticism and also have productive conversations, and that can only happen when you are able to provide constructive criticism in a safe environment where it isn't just fueled by hatred and harassment and whatever else, right? So I definitely do think that is a great step in the right direction, and I'm looking forward to seeing what creators join the program. Now, with that in mind, Royale also did respond to a comment that, in my opinion, alludes to the Leah Ashe and Megan Play's situation, which I've talked about extensively on this channel. Now, I do have to give a disclaimer here that I found this comment, however, the comment was deleted. And based off the comment thread that I can find, to my understanding, they are referring to the Leah Ashe and Megan Play situation because of just kind of like the nature of the comment. And to my understanding, and based on what I could take from it, they asked Royale, are you going to take away Leah Ashe's badge? Which, if you guys don't know, both Megan Plays and Leah Ashe have badges in Royale because they both used to create Royale content, not as much anymore, but they definitely create more content now. Or sorry, not as much anymore, but they definitely made a lot of content in the past, sorry. But regardless, they basically were asking, hey, you gonna take away her badge? And Royale responded by basically saying they don't get involved in personal matters. And I have seen some mixed opinions about this response, but I have to sit here and say that that is 100% a valid response because I understand people are obviously upset by the situation, and some of the opinions about whether or not what's right or wrong, whatever, is pretty polarizing, especially with a situation of this nature and with people that have obviously been a staple in a lot of kids' childhoods for many, many years. But regardless, I definitely think that there is a line between what Roblox can kind of, control or try to, I don't know the right word here, like manage versus what is just not for them to kind of disclose or talk about. And I definitely think that personal matters fall into that kind of category. Obviously, if somebody is outside of Roblox and they're doing something dangerous, like they're making it so kids are unsafe, or they're doing inappropriate stuff and publishing it to children, or stuff like that, definitely that should be taken away. And I'm not excusing Leah Ashe's alleged behavior. However, stuff like that has to do with a personal issue. And personally, if nobody or no children on the Roblox platform in the Royale High community are being actively victimized by it, I don't think it is grounds to remove somebody's badge. I agree with them on that, and I know a lot of people haven't agreed with them, but I definitely think it would be a massive overstep if they were to take away her badge because of these allegations, which I think a lot of people have, based on the perceptions and voices I've seen on the internet, have concluded that they believe that Leah Ashe is guilty. However, I'm a very firm believer that stuff are allegations until they're proven in a court of law. Doesn't mean I don't believe anybody, but certainly it's important to take into account that these are currently just allegations and Leah Ashe has said nothing about it. So with that in mind, I definitely do think it was a good move to not remove her badge. Do I agree with what she's allegedly done? No. But do I think that Royale High should be policing what people do in their personal lives, their marriages, their relationships? Absolutely not. And so I think this was a good move. Now, with that in mind, based on the response that Royale has provided and the information they provided, it sounds like they may be implementing some sort of reward system or potentially other features to help support creators in their program, which I definitely do think would be a good thing. I do know that a lot of Crown Royalty badge holders currently have either retired or they don't make a ton of Royale High content. I definitely think if someone is associated with a game, there should be, I guess, a certain amount of content that they have to produce in a certain time frame in order for them to still be in that program, just because if you are offering resources like they're kind of hinting here that they may be offering some features and stuff like that, obviously there needs to be some give and take. There has to be an equal exchange there. And personally, I've seen some games not talking about Royale High, not talking about anything that I've previously talked about, but there are some games on Roblox that require creators to make like 5 videos a week, which I think is crazy. Absolutely not. But I think it's important that any creator who represents a game is somewhat active in the community, so a video maybe once every 6 months I think is more than doable, especially if they're going to be adding some more features to support creators. But I definitely am curious what kind of things that you may be adding to the program, how they may be redoing the program. Are there going to be certain guidelines like follower counts, viewer counts or just overall impression that matters. I'm definitely very curious and will be following this and letting you guys know. But let me know in the comment section below what you think about this. Will you be applying? If you guys need help on how to apply, I will link their Twitter down below so you guys can take a look at it. But with that in mind, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye!